Hi, everybody. It's been it's Monday morning. This is my wake and bake start to the work week. Trying something a little bit new with you all, just for our beloved Patreon supporters, just for the GMIWH fam that throws in on this show. I thought it might be fun to start the work weed together and puff a little bit, have a little sesh, talk about what's going on in the weed news. I'm going to get fired up immediately. I've got my PAX powering up right now. As you might know, PAX is our new sponsor. And if you go to PAX.com, use the promo code Great Moments, you get 10% off. That's just to say that. Why we are here is honestly, I was had a bit of weed FOMO over the weekend, but also a lot of excitement because this past Saturday was the 50th anniversary of the cannabis parade in New York City. Hold on, got a puff packs. And I've been hearing from people who marched in the parade, including recent interview subject here on the show, Danny Danko, my old colleague at High Times in New York, and a lot of other people, that it was just an incredible event. 50 years ago, this parade was started as a protest at a time when there was not only no legal cannabis in the city for another 50 years practically, but no medical cannabis. And it really came out of the local anarchistic, yippie, Lower East Side activist community that you may remember hearing about from our episode about the 1-800 Want Pot delivery service from the Pope of Pot himself. If you don't know what I'm talking about, this was all chronicled in our live episode in New York City with special guest Ben Sinclair from the television show High Maintenance. And we talked about this first ever delivery service in New York City, but that was also comprised of activists pushing for medical cannabis who, very much like Dennis Peron on the West Coast, were inspired by the incredible need for affordable or free medical cannabis to people suffering with AIDS and HIV. And to see, the years when I went to this parade in New York, there was a huge, heavy, oppressive police presence at every, where it started, all along the march and where it ended, and people were getting pulled out of the crowd and arrested for simply like discreetly hitting a joint or even a little one hitter. The cops were aggressive. The cops were, rude at best and often abusive. And yet, for 50 years, this protest persisted, and now this weekend in New York City, that very parade was sponsored in part by the city of New York itself. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, the highest ranking, but I don't think he gets high, but the highest ranking senator in the United States Senate, was there to give a speech. And more importantly, a gentleman was honored for his decades and decades and decades of tireless advocacy. And that gentleman is Dana Beal, one of the original Lower East Side activists who was part of that whole radical weed movement in the city. So to see him honored by the city was just fantastic. And also, I just wanted to use this time, I think each Monday, to the extent that I'll be able to keep this going, to start your work weed off right, assuming you are employed. I'm no longer used to just talking to myself, a testament to how much I'm enjoying the secret sessions. But I wanted to go through just some of the states that are really right now on their way to legalizing, because this incredible progress that we're making at the state level continues. And, just as much as when I was living in New York City, it seemed like a distant dream that we would parade through the streets smoking weed legally. It is legal in New York City to smoke a joint anywhere you can smoke tobacco cigarette legally. That seemed nearly impossible as we were getting hassled by the police, even though it was, of course, the point of the whole thing to win those freedoms. And now it exists, albeit in a flawed capitalistic system. Those freedoms exist, and we need to not just fight for our victories, but to celebrate them and collectively, not my own back, but collectively pat ourselves all on the back. And here's where we're going next, because the state of Minnesota, which is home to several of our big supporters here on Great Moments in Weed History, is very, very close to passing through the legislature a comprehensive legalization bill. This is because, for the first time, the Democratic Party controls the governor and both houses of the legislature. And so this long delayed progress is about to happen. I have several of our supporters on here who have promised me that they will enjoy their first ever legal puff of cannabis in the state of Minnesota with me. So stay tuned for that as a little secret sesh bonus to come. And I will let everybody know as soon as that law is signed and enacted. In Florida, get this. It's a clusterfuck. And I want to highlight briefly that yes, there is a push right now to get cannabis on the ballot. They're collecting signatures. There's a lot of problems with the petition as it's written. If you live in Florida, I would say do get involved, but get very educated first and see what's going on in your home state, and why one company seems to be poised to control all the weed in Florida, currently in the medical program, and now trying to push that near monopoly to the recreational market, as they call it, or the just getting high, or the leave me the fuck alone, I just want to smoke some weed and it's none of your business market, as we like to call it here. Moving along to Ohio, again, signature collection is happening right now. There's a really, really good chance that this will be on the ballot very soon. If you are in Ohio, this is an important time to get involved, because it's not going to be just about will we legalize cannabis. It's never just that question. It is also the question of how is cannabis going to be legalized, who will grow it, who will distribute it, who will sell it, and who will be pushed out of that process. So if you live in Ohio and you're not currently involved in cannabis activism, the next 6 months are going to be really crucial there. And finally, in Pennsylvania, we've got two separate proposals pushing for cannabis legalization in the legislature, one coming from the Democrats, one coming from the Republicans. The first one focused on things like social justice and remediating the damage of the war on drugs, and the other from the Republicans. So enough said on that. I can't, to be honest, I can't make these Monday morning wake and bake, start your work weed into me, doing the news just yet. I'll try to build up to it. So I know this sounds a little sort of half-assed and all over the place, but that's what a wake and bake is meant to be. And really, honestly, just wanted to take the opportunity to say from the heart how much this community keeps me inspired to keep making the show, to keep reporting on cannabis, to keep proposing tons of new projects that may or may not ever happen, and to stay dedicated to this plant that binds us all and brings us joy and medicine, and can bring us food and fuel and fiber as we all No, I want to say quick shout out. Ran into some Patreon supporters from up in the Humboldt Hills. This weed at a weed event. We got to spend some time together, and I'm hoping to have them on a future secret sesh to discuss their just opened bud and breakfast in Humboldt County. I'm very excited about everything in that sentence. But for now, I just wanted to say, you know, anytime and anywhere I have a chance in real life or online, I'm really loving meeting everybody from this community. If you would like to secret sesh with me, please send me an email at info@greatmomentsinweedhistory.com or a DM through the Patreon, and we'll set it up. If you want to just sesh, but you can't really put it out there in the world, hit me up anyway, and we'll do it and we'll sesh. So to wrap things up, I enjoyed Puff Puff Paxing with you all this morning. New York City, fucking hell yeah. I don't love the government, I don't love the cops, but to have the city itself sponsoring our weed parade and the police totally unable to do anything about people blazing out right on the sidewalk, and to see one of the real long time dedicated street activists who's been arrested so many times and imprisoned multiple times for this plant, Dana Beal, get his flowers and be honored on stage. That is a truly great moment in weed history that just happened. And let's make some more weed history in Minnesota, in Florida, in Ohio, in Pennsylvania, and from there to the rest of the world. Have a great weed, everybody. There will be a new secret sesh on Weedness Day, and of course, the Weedness Day after that, we'll be back with another episode of Great Moments in Weed History. Anyway, just wanted to say hi. Thanks, everybody.